Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the stream. Just gotta do some clickety-clacking, and we can move on. Hope everybody's doing well. Morning, Coyote Havoc. Hope you're doing well. Tickety-tick, tickety-tick. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Portugal's okay. We're having a late season resurgence of a bunch of cold and wet, so not that great in that regards, but no gunshots, so good in that regards. Good morning, Jamie. Hope you're doing well. Excuse me. Righty. We have everything we need. Notice over there. Combined chat's working for a change. Dookie dookie. Good morning, Lord Volpex. Hope you're doing well. Hydration. I do have a dog. It is mostly asleep and snoring. It's funny, for 3 months since we've been here, hasn't wanted anything to do with me. Not like I was afraid of me or anything, just weary of everything. It seems to have calmed down a bit now. Ooh, excuse me. So I was checking last night because I had a sneaking suspicion that Pretty Little Death Wilders was unfinished. Which it is. For some reason, I vaguely remember that it never completed properly. So it was like 2 chapters short of finishing properly. So yeah, probably won't do that. But we will do Hall. Hall? How? Humans are weird. We'll do a re-TFOS of that. Because they are Not necessarily in any form of order. They're all just kind of based in the same universe, as far as I understand. I think we did like 50 of them. There's lots of them. But they're short, so... But that's only if we get enough time. Which I think we will. Can't always be running at 100% of capacity. Because then any bump in the road just derails everything. We are quickly approaching a week ahead. A week of buffer. And then once we've done ham...
Biddies as far as the eye can see.
Ooh, thank you for the biddies. I love when people flash me some biddies. It's very much appreciated. 1,000. Definitely kicking some names and taking some ass. No, yeah, you know what I mean. Good morning, Anthony. Hope you're doing well. Also, Lord Wolpex. For that, you can get some dog snores. There you go. Some dog snoring. Well, it is mostly a comedy series. Well, it started off as a comedy series. Not sure where it ended off. Good morning, Sulphurine. Hope you're doing well. But humans are weird. Go way back to the pre-industrial revolution age of 6-7 years ago. So, and they were... They did run into some problems. I can't remember. There was a bit of drama around it. Don't really pay much attention to that. But they were very short stories, so we can use them as a nice 5th video, or even, if they're short enough, we can do some shorty shorts, some YouTube shorts. Yippee. I'm so excited. Ooh. Burp. Coffee. But today we will be doing Accidentally Adopted, some Human from a Dungeon, then tomorrow we can do a bunch of TFOS, and then Wednesday we'll do a bunch of re-TFOS. Then Thursday, Friday we'll probably do Humans Are Weird and or pick up any stragglers we've missed along the way. That is the plan. We'll have this list of very short re-TFOS. Good morning, Chomper MS. Hope you're doing well. I say morning, I mean time unit. Good time unit. Greetings, gentle being, a good time unit. Doesn't sound the same, but... Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. This fantastic, or... Monday. I realized it isn't fantastic, it's Monday. You know why I say every other day is fantastic? It's because they're not Mondays. This music is going to make me go to sleep. It can't be any more exciting, otherwise it would detract from the talking. Why, hello, Croatia. Hope you're doing well. That joke. Glad to see many countries represent, although most of them will be American, but such as the nature of YouTube and English speaking. There are more English speakers in America than there are in England. It's because the population is larger. I think America's bordering on 400 million now. Same as, there's more Portuguese spoken in Brazil than there is in Portugal. Every time I put the microphone there, he stops snoring. So apparently, the easiest way to get the dog to stop snoring is to duct tape a microphone to his head. Human from a Dungeon still got another 170-ish chapters to go, so we won't be catching up anytime soon. It's a good 2 or 3 months. As for Accidentally Adopted, don't know. Sorry. There are a couple that people want me to do, and there's a couple I've got my eye on. But we'll see. We'll see. Sorry, just clearing out the gunk from my throat. Happens every morning. No, health is fine. I mean, when we got here, I was sick for the first couple weeks. But it's been pretty okay. This is just generally what my voice is like in the morning. It's the vocal equivalent of shaking out some stiff muscles from yesterday. For me. But other than that, health is doing okay. I think the biggest problem at the moment is the migraines, but who knows? Without my migraine-inducing spreadsheet, I should be fine. Ugh. Water. But we are pretty close to ending accidentally adopted. I think there's 5.18, 5.19. So there's plus 3. This week plus 3 or 4. And we're caught up. Alright, I think it is time to start. At least with one chapter. Sorry, I know. Touching the mic is annoying. Not only to you, but to me, because I can hear it. But it needs to be done. Especially if you have a snoring dog. Then it definitely needs to be done. Alright. As I narrate, feel free to ask any questions you want. I'll answer if possible. Feel free to chat. Engagement's always good. Brings new people in. But I will be paying attention to chat as much as I can. And away we go. Now first we need to do Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest narration of the web series Accidentally Adopted. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Part 5, Chapter 12, Breadcrumb. Dear Diary, that was a lot harder than the other 2 battles. Luckily, we had banned jumping in the water since that would wash the wounds a lot easier. Cheers, Chomper. Thank you for popping past. It is very much appreciated. Luckily. Battles. Luckily, we had banned jumping in the water, since that would wash off the wounds a lot easier. Or Greg had laughed in the other proctor. Greg had laughed in the other proctor's face when she suggested it would be totally okay, and asked if and asked her if she thought that she thought that he was an idiot. Well, I guess it could have gone worse, but I guess what new people are pretty easygoing if their trick just doesn't work. But that didn't matter much. Even after practicing in the same gravity, there was no way to simulate the random drafts of going every which way, or the light of the star blinding us while they're trying to flank the enemy. while we're trying to flank the enemy. We barely got the ball away from them, and when we barely got the ball away from them, and we did that by marking every last one of them. I kind of feel like we should have been able to put pressure on one side to distract them and send a smaller group in to take the ball out from under them. But I guess we're just too far outside our element. Then, when it was our turn to defend, the Latreille were hard to hit and super fast, which I guess is natural advantage and stuff, but it was still annoying. Worse, they didn't just charge us like the woods. Fair enough. Here's my cup of coffee. But I do need to drink 2 liters of water for the hydration to be at optimal levels, according to doctors. They didn't just charge us. They didn't just charge us like a bunch of dimwits. No, they actually had a plan. A plan to try and get us to chase them down by fake retreating, which we didn't get out of cover and fall for because we're not dumb either. Still though, they had an actual plan. Their second plan was to try and use their small size to sneak through some of the tunnels in the playground thingies. When we both started from a neutral position, we got stomped hard. The Watanu kids, mostly Litre, got to where the ball was first and set up an ambush and basically killed all of us in less than half a minute. That sucked. What didn't suck was that Greg liked my paragraph. So the packaging for the rest of the sneakies that I hadn't sold yet got used. I don't know if it helped sales or not, since I was pretty sure that we'd sold out either way. What did help was Greg posing for pictures with costumes. It's a bit funny that most of the kids and adults too were smaller than him. It's a bit funny that most of the kids and the adults too were smaller than him. After that, Mom made him eat some food since she guessed that he didn't really trust the local food to not kill him and stuff. It worked out since we had our after battle. We had our feast. It worked out since after our battle we had our feast. It worked out since we had our after battle feast. It worked out since after the battle we had our feast, and he gave This is a horrible. I mean, Kosa's pretty decent, well, good at writing. It's just one of those sentences. One of those sentences. It worked out because we had our after-battle feast, and he gave a ribbon to the best two players on either side. Yoiv didn't get it this time, but I heard Greg tell him that it was a close thing, and he'd personally very proud of him. You'd think Yoiv was given a ribbon from how happy that made him. You'd think that Yoiv got the ribbon from how happy that made him. Fair enough, Firefox, fair enough, but... you know, life moves on. Ah, cat. Hello, cat. Meow. Meow. I'm happy for the author that they were able to get a contract with the production company. Because it's a full contract. It's a publishing contract. So, all the best to them. Good morning, day, evening, Shadow. I hope you're doing well. That made him. Greetings, lady. Then there was a meeting I didn't get to go to, and us kids and most of the grown-ups went back to the Wee Sing. When Daddy and Greg finally came back, they weren't in a mood for talking. Journal entry 62, date 1/11/3. Name, Greg George. Well, I'm not fond of being amongst all of these Xenos and not knowing if the delicious-smelling foods are death or not. It was hell. God, it smells like fish fry from around the corner in my local... God, it smells like a fish fry from around the corner from my hotel room, which is just a little on the small side compared to the Beaver-sized. But it is actually pretty cozy. Pendrell had a room more of his own size of floor up, which he offered to share. But the dude snores like a chainsaw going through gravel. You're reading. I was busy trying to figure out what SM Rough Day was the name of a ship. I read too many stories. No, it's not good, Shadow. It's not good. Gravel. Hope you feel better soon. Through gravel. Besides, I wasn't all that worried for my own safety on account of the fact that if anyone tried crap, I'd just stab them repeatedly. Anyway, we worked it out that we could meet everyone at the park in time for the match, which was everything I could have hoped for. In the first place, the other parents were trying to get a fair advantage over us through guile, which is a sign that they actually care about them enough to want to affect things within the set parameters. Though the idea that I wouldn't see how much of an advantage otters in water would have was hilarious. Leaving aside the fact that it would be a convenient way for the kids to avoid being hit by falling into the water and washing away the chalk marks, laughed my ass off at that crap. But they didn't want to win by cheating, so I didn't have to interfere once, which I kind of wanted to do since these kids are probably It's not good, Shadow. It's not good. Have to interfere once. But they didn't want to win by cheating, so I didn't have to interfere once, which I kind of wanted to do since these kids are probably used to being to at least. I kind of wanted to do since these kids are probably used to being to being. But they didn't want to win by cheating, so I didn't have to interfere once, which I kind of wanted to do since these kids are probably used to being able to at least resist adults who aren't water sausage people. I think. My ass off. But they didn't want to win by cheating, so I didn't have to interfere once, which I kind of wanted to do since these kids aren't. Which I kind of wanted to do, since these kids are probably used to being able to at least resist adults who aren't water sausage people. The surprise on their face would have been priceless. Well, the kids decided to be honest and not indulge my sense of humor. The little jerks. Mom made a big deal about me skipping a couple meals, but really, I didn't want to go through all of the steps to make sure the food was safe for consumption. And Wang, Pendrell, isn't very knowledgeable about what is and isn't poisonous. Oh, looky, Bot. Hello, Bot. Hope you're enjoying the stream. And away you go. Goodbye, Bot. It was nice to have you, but it's better to see you leave. Okay. What cat? Okay. Then don't. The cat. Whoa. The cat wants up on my table, but he doesn't want me to pick him up and put him on the table. I think. It's just standing there meowing at me, so, some interpretation may be needed. And Wang Pendrell isn't very knowledgeable about what is and isn't poisonous. The poor sap normally just eats what gets put in front of him, kind of like me. I'm going to swap him out for a lover boy, Quindrum. Someone with culinary aspirations will be much more helpful in that regard. But really, that wasn't until after my totally accurate Viking feast and story about Valhalla that isn't mostly shit I made up to fill the gaps on what I didn't remember. On what I don't remember from old movies I don't speak the language of anyway. Linus was kind of disappointed that he didn't get another ribbon, and it was a close thing. The wall is not a scratch toy. Yeah, I know. So it's funny. My cat comes running when I whistle. My dog ignores it. Now the ribbon. And it was a close-run thing between him and Loki, but he seemed pretty pleased that I'm proud of how he did. They were out there They were out of their element and up against kids who didn't totally suck, and they still did pretty good. They even have the properly humble attitude about how tough of a fight it was. Man, their parents are doing a great job with them. Then I had a meeting with Pop's uncle, Bob, Girl Sergeant, and other guy. It turned out that googly-eyed Fex leaves a trail a mile fecking wide behind him here too. Just not with the respectable, normal people. The various scummy places are buzzing about the Beastmaster bringing back the age of Corsairs, or some shit. Sounds fucking stupid to me. Especially since the fecker is going to get his ship pushed in once I get my hands on him. Which reminds me, I need to find out what kinds of permanent marks are considered shameful for the googly-eyed lizard people. I'm planning on using all of the fecking leeway I have. Mostly because I had a run-in with some feckers from his fecking crew, or maybe a crew affiliated with him somehow. I don't give a feck how they are connected. They are not anymore. What blows my mind is the feckers thought that they could actually take me sober and alert. Too stupid to live for feck's sake. Log 6,001.2.09. Personal, Captain Yormdrome. Okay. Now we can go sleep in his freaking spot. Because cat can't be simple. It has to be a song and dance. Yormdrome. Sorry, just getting a bit of interference on the headphones. Or something. Today is definitely a Monday. Just 1 second. There we go. Just, even though these are shielded cables, you still get some interference if they're right next to a power source. Drone. Drone. But that's why you have headphones on, so you can hear this sort of stuff. Yeah, very much. Today, I spectated my children participating in a military drill and cheered. I realized that it's really a game, and a true drill would have a much greater level of intensity. Yet still, it carries a distinct militant flavor, which before Yorfdrill's kidnapping I might have recoiled at. Such as it is, I have concluded that the best protection I can give my children is competence in dangerous situations. That isn't to say that I'll be any less vigilant about keeping danger as far away from them as I can manage. But the seas are vast and full of peril. Besides, I quite enjoy watching them win. The other thing I witnessed was, Gregory and I was ambushed. Gregory and I were ambushed as we walked back to the ship after discussing the findings of the Landers investigation team, and my plans to make some inquiries amongst them. My plans to make some inquiries amongst the almost illegal marketeers. Or rather, my wife's plans. Those types are sometimes a good source of information. Anyway, Major Koo stepped in our path, and 3 more stepped into the path behind us. and brandished knives and shot clubs in our general direction. "Come with us if you don't want anyone to get hurt," the leader hissed. Gregory signed to me. Too many people around. They might have guns. Well, he said aloud, "I'll follow." I stayed silent as the gangers led us down the alleyway, away. I stayed silent as the gangers led us down an alley, away from the more trafficked areas. "I'm curious," Greg began. I'm curious, Greg began. "What makes you think that this is a good idea?" The leader obliged him. "If we return you to the pit, we'll be rich." "No, I mean, knowing how dangerous I am, what makes you think it's a good plan to try and threaten me?" "Good morning, Kandaria. Hope you're doing well." "You're unarmed, in an open, and do not have combat drugs in your system, plus you forgot your grab belt. You're harmless." Gregory began to chant, "Hey-oh, lucky lad, oh, look while you can, lad. Ken as you can, lad, for ye see a Republican scout, oh. Hey-oh, luck's gonna, oh, luck's gone, oh. Can't look now, lad. You didn't ken, dad. Oh. You didn't ken, lad, for you cannot see a Republican scout, oh. Hey-oh, we dropped in, oh, right under your nose, lad. You missed the pot, lad, for we are the Republican scouts, oh. Hey-oh, I'm behind lines, oh. I'm looking at you, lad. You never heard a report, lad, for it was aimed by a Republican scout, oh. Hey-oh, the ponds are dropping, oh. The landings, meh. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Kandaria. Oh. They're landing on your heads, lad. The infantry is coming, lad. For their way is shown by the Republican scout, oh. Hey, oh. Lucky lad, oh. We're pretty on parade, lad. So look while you can, lad. For downrange you can't see a Republican scout, oh. By the time his chant was finished, the gangers were on edge, and when one turned to say something, he found Greg's knife buried in his throat, and he was already caving in his skull of one of the cronies while I drew my sidearm and shot one of the remaining two. The last fled, but before I could take aim, the blood-stained knife was spinning through the air and caught the final ganger in the back. "I can't believe you thought that I'd be less dangerous sober." End of chapter. Hydration. Caffeine. So now I have a snoring lamp and a purring laptop. I suppose could be worse things in the world. And we've got music. I have, Kandaria. We've been in Portugal since the early January. So yeah, it's been interesting. Getting used to a new country, used to new food. Used to not South Africa. That is a mission in and of itself. Not everybody's out to kill me, or rob me, or kill my wife, you know. Yes. And my singing will unnerve anyone. Ba-dum-tsh. Thank you very much, Kandaria. Thank you. Still, I mean, look, we arrived here and we had to buy a house. Well, not buy a house, buy household stuff. So that sucked. When you go, it's worse than when you move from one house to another, because you always take some stuff from one house to another. But this, we arrived with what we could fit in our bags. Everything else is still in South Africa. Stupid stuff like plates and cutlery and... But we've got all that stuff now. We're in a place until September. It's a large place. But I got it because it ticked all the boxes of what I wanted, even though it was a bit much. But now it gives us a chance to go around, look at houses, see where we want to be. And then we'll possibly move house in September again. Very hard to take a fridge and washing machine. Funny thing is, the house came with a washing machine, didn't come with a fridge. So we're currently renting. And then I think until naturalization happens, we'll just keep renting. So naturalization takes 5 years after the first paperwork is signed. We haven't signed that yet. So in 5-ish years' time, we can think about buying a house. Not because there's any legal things, it's just, you know, paranoia. What if they say no? What if they change their mind? What if, you know, a million things. What do you think, dog? Yeah, that's what I thought. My dog doesn't like being my coaster. Oh, thank you, Kandaria. Very much appreciated. Alright, I think we'll move on to the next chapter. Ba-dimp-dimp. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series Accidentally Adopted. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Part 5, Chapter 13. A Fine Day. Log 6,001.2.10. Personal, Captain Yormdrel. Well, I shouldn't have worried about Gregory's finances. I also should have expected the plushies to sell out immediately. Really, it's amazing how quickly his gruff refusal to act cute melts away, like fog, in the sunshine the moment there's a little expectation from a child. Again, perhaps I should have seen it coming, but I had the notion that he was simply comfortable with our children on the ship. However, it's more general. That isn't to say he wasn't taking advantage, and Trandy was as well, as they would... That isn't to say that he wasn't taking advantage, and Trandy as well, as they should when selling a product. But it was a pleasant surprise that Gregory didn't balk at helping sell another run of plushies almost as they were finished, being manufactured by posing for photos in the same jumpsuit used for the first model Trandy had come up with. Yeah, that's not good. It's going to be interesting stuff. I mean, the words, stuff. So, in South Africa, it's not particularly religious in any way. But we're in Portugal, and it's very religious, so it'll be interesting to see how this affects the country. I imagine it affects it quite badly. Well, not badly. Quite a lot. Brandy had come up. She told me she wasn't making any more dress blue versions because they took longer to make, and she couldn't keep up with the demand as it was. When I asked Greg why he wasn't out looking for more information, he said, "The landers have some leads, and I'm more of an observer than an investigator. Besides, we're not looking for locations of critical targets on a planet. We're trying to pick up a trail across space, which I'm not very good at. Besides, getting information out of prisoners is chancy at best, and something that you should only do when desperate." I hadn't considered the possibility that Gregory was also close to breaking when Yorfdraw was kidnapped. This is something that Travdy and I have had greeting. Trandy had come up with. Whoops. I didn't record that. Mm-hmm. She told me she wasn't making any more dress blue versions because they took longer to make, and she couldn't keep up with the demand as it was. When I asked Greg why he wasn't out looking for more information, he said, "The landers have some leads, and I'm more of an observer than an investigator. Besides, we're not looking for the locations of critical targets on a planet. We're trying to pick up a trail across space, which I'm not very good at. Besides, getting information out of prisoners is chancy at best and something that you should only do when desperate." I hadn't considered the possibility that Gregory was also close to breaking when Yorfdraw was kidnapped. This is something that Travdy and I shall have to talk about once we're underway tomorrow. Although there was a Latrine man lurking about today, Gregory somehow managed to slip away and speak with him. It's downright unsettling how that man can just disappear when he wants to. One moment he was in the corner of my eye, and I was talking to a local parent about the difficulties of being on a heavy world, and when I looked to where he was standing, he was gone. I admit that my fatherly panic instincts went off at first, but then I remembered that anything that tried to threaten him would be swiftly and harshly dealt with. I've agreed to take on a Bick as a passenger. He doesn't mind bunking down with the landers. We'll need to have more comprehensive meeting tomorrow, but I at least know our next destination. We sail rimward to Far Sight Station. Dear Diary, so many sails. I think if we have a few more stops like this, I'll be able to get some better equipment and churn out even more plushies. Oh, it's a bit loud in the background. That up. Already I've made more money than I even have saved up from my allowance to buy into a plan in the first place. Already I've made more money than I even had saved up from my allowance to buy into our plan in the first place, and the others are more than willing to buy into an upgrade. Greg especially is enjoying himself, and really I think he just likes making people happy. I can't even keep up with how many people want them on one planet. I almost thought that once I sold out, hype would die down. But Greg's feast and storytelling yesterday got a lot of people interested. I guess some of them were hoping for another Dart War, like a lot of us wouldn't mind, but we didn't arrange anything ahead of time, so that wasn't really in the charts. I'm kind of wondering what Greg's normal, battle gear, kind of wondering what Greg's normal battle gear would look like. I suspect that he has some kind of armor, but he just says that he might poke at the modeling program to see if he can coax out another close enough for me. He did mention that there are other uniforms that are used for other purposes, such as exercise, training, official appearances, and semi-formal social functions, and non-combat duties. I'll pester him about that later. It's not like I'm running out of customers anytime soon. I have too many, as it is, and managing the plushie business is taking up a lot of my time. And managing the plushie business is taking up a lot of time, which I kind of want to use for my students. Which I kind of want to use for my studies. I think I want to be helpful to people like Greg. I know that he already has these tools, but still, sometimes he still needs help from someone else, and I just don't know what to do. I hate that useless feeling. So even if I never help Greg with his struggles, there are men all across the nation who have been through awful things where they had to fight and need someone who knows how to help. The more people who know, the better. It's time for me to start thinking about embarking anyway. Maybe I can put it off until Yoiv is old enough, or maybe I should talk to Yag. Journal entry 63, date 1/11/4. Name, Greg George. Well, the non-coms tell me that they have locations nailed down, and I passed that along to our captain, and he's kind of eager to get moving. These guys really hate sitting still. Anyway, we made a crap pile of money in plushies. We made a crap ton of money from the plushies. So much for trying to spend my pay. It's whatever. Lucy is already talking about upgrading the machines, and I'm all in. These Xeno kids love the crap out of a plushie. These Xeno kids love the crap out of a plushies. So much that I barely care that I'm a meme fodder in the sales session. I haven't felt this human in a long while. Honestly, it's kind of nice to only be memed. There's a difference between, hey, you're the guy from the meme, and, oh my god, you're the reporter, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I kind of like it. The other dude was lurking around, being all shifty and shit, so I slipped away to have a little chat. Well, he wasn't up to any shady crap. He was trying to figure out how to talk to me without a giant crowd around. Well, he got what he wanted on multiple fronts. I kind of scared him a little, which in retrospect he didn't have coming. Random cough. Coming. But I was on edge from yesterday. Apparently, he had some info on a certain googly-eyed feck and wanted to trade the info for passage off planet. Well, I got what he knows, which wasn't much. Otter Dude has a vendetta against googly-eyed feck for some feckery. Imagine my shock. Anyway, Sausage said that Fecko was making noise about getting another terror beast, which I guess is me, and that meant going to a station on the border of explored space. There's some kind of hyperspace crap past a certain point that they call the Gulf or whatever. I wasn't really paying attention, and Sausage was crap at explaining it. It all lines up with what non-coms told me, but I asked Pops if we could take Sausage on anyway, and he said fine. I told Sausage that he's going to have to make himself useful aboard. I'll have him doing PT and scrubbing bulkheads if he can't figure something out on his own. I don't care if the robots clean better. Idle hands and all that crap. God fucking damn it. I'm really a fucking officer. I'll have to get Pops for this. Jerk. From the memoir of Beastmaster Salvace. I cunningly left some crew behind on Wetanu in case of the primitive is left unattended on that planet. Cessin and his crew should be enough to take one lemur thing away from the braids. Speaking of braids, my slave has finally started thanking me for her beatings. Progress. Even if I can't get my beast back, I know where to get another one, even if there are those impossible egg-breaking ships in the area. The Great Egg only knows what made them. But they probably don't care about some they probably don't care about some privateers in their territory. Even if they do, they can probably talk out my. I can probably talk my way out of any trouble. They're bound to be civilized, skilled folk. End of chapter. Then away we go. Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to the latest narration of the web series Accidentally Adopted. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Part 5, Chapter 14. Underway. Dear Diary, we have a guest aboard. Well, not like a guest, more like a passenger. But he doesn't have any money, so he's working in the engine room, which is getting pretty okay, I guess. But he doesn't have... Yes, he is a twit. Thankfully, he should be dead soon, which is getting pretty okay. Twitch side is quiet. Okay. Oh, you mean in the chat department? Today seems to be a quiet day, which makes sense. It's a public holiday in some places and not in others. Engine room. Which is going pretty okay, I guess. Maybe he'll come sailing with us permanently as another trainee engineer, or maybe with someone else. He says he wants to see the beats. He says he wants to see the Beast Taker, or whatever he called himself, get what is coming to him. But it's hard to imagine someone going back to living stuck on a planet once you start sailing. I think we have that exercise uniform down. It's pretty simple. Just shorts and a t-shirt with shoes. But Greg couldn't get any of the shirt logos right. According to him, so I just put our heraldry on it. He's working on the semi-formal and duty uniforms next. But I have the idea for the future. I'm holding back one of every 50 plushies for now as a separate stock. And I'm looking into adding logos to the back and chest pockets of these jumpsuits after the fact. Hopefully, I can do it without getting a whole new machine. I am also holding back another 150. I'm also holding back another 1 in 50 and putting the heraldry for the hospital ship on them. I can donate some. I couldn't donate my first run, though. That was just crazy. I wouldn't have been able to afford the materials for the next run if I had, but you can't really blame someone for just asking. So, that's going well. What's not going well are the combat drills. I just can't hit target type 4. Journal entry 66. Date 1/11/7. Name Greg George. Oh boy, chart time. Captain Yomdrill pops. Exo Yomdrill Drigler. Yomdrill Yamdrill Drillga. Captain Yomdrill Drildy pops. Exo Yamdrill Drillga. Uncle. Navigator Brulsy? Navigator Brulsy Ronzi Sextant. Communications Officer Nightran, Chit-Chat. Tactical Officer, Runji Draggy, Pink. Pilot, Saudran Ronzi, Flyboy. Cargo Master, Trevdi Drildi, Mom. Head Cook, Braxtion Yonra, Chef. Undercook, Quindrum, Loverboy. Undercook, Parallel. Pearl Duo, Vox Duo, Hooters. First Engineer, Wexlin, Greasy. Second Engineer, Vivdra, Yonra, Sky. Yonra. Sprocket. Third Engineer, Roxdal, Static Frizzle. Trainee Engineer, Rydioak, Intern. Trainee Engineer, Bick, Sausage. Ship's EMT, Nandran Dranlai, Scrubs 1. Ship's EMT, Noivdram, Dranba, Scrubs 2. Ship's Teacher, Mrs. Howitz, Teddy Tutor. Ship's Advanced Math Teacher, Mr. Howitz, Professor Teddy. Hydroponics Technician, Rendua. Thirsty. Quartermaster, Bexvian, Cupcakes. Hand, Brenton, Bren. Hand, Pavdrel, Pav. Hand, Pendrel, Wang. Hand, Circa, Tease. Hand, Boing Drag, Draggy, Scruffy. Hand, Maugga, Drilga, Auntie. Hand, Brux, Vox, Vox Duo, Brax. Hand, Krillia, Dranlea, Knockers. Hand, Remba, Dranba. Head Cook. Hand, Remba, Drango, Tig Ol. Sergeant, Field Promoted Gunny, Jorman, Bob. Sergeant, Trandower, Girl Sergeant. Sergeant, Yorm Drev, Other Guy. Nobody seems bothered by the nicknames, but I'm going to make an effort to at least avoid using boob-related ones. While I think they're hilarious, they're not very professional. Probably. Fecking hate officer mode. I'm trying to keep names in official settings, but I keep calling Jorman, not George Man, Bob by accident, and it doesn't help that he's such a fecking good sport over it. Girl Sergeant gets mad at me, which would be helpful if she didn't have a chip on her shoulder, a fecking mile fecking wide. I think she's mad at me for making Bob the gunny and not her. But tough crap lady, he's obviously the most competent out of the three of you, so handle your crap. Family names to only be important in formal settings, so the family names seem to only be important in formal settings, so the single people didn't even bother giving me theirs, probably since they change when they get married or some crap. It seems kind of neat, but I don't really have time to look into the ins and outs of their naming conventions, since I'm busy getting the landers to integrate, which they're actually doing. Keeping up the crew's readiness and training up my bigs. They're picking up on how to lead targets surprisingly quickly, but with recent events, I think they're taking the drill more seriously than kids otherwise would. Crap is pretty harrowing. I did finally get a meeting with Pop's uncle and the sergeants scheduled. It seems that anyone who had even a little contact with the planet's barely competent bureaucracy was so fecking exhausted that they could barely grunt a reply. Fecking nepotism. But Pop says we're making all speed towards Farsight Station, which is in the same nation. Which is in the same nation. Fingers crossed that Farsight is slightly more Fingers crossed that Farsight is slightly more meritocratic. Fingers crossed that Farsight is slightly more meritocratic. Meeting tomorrow. Log 6,001.2.10. Personal. Captain Yormdrill. There's something about almost competent people that just makes me want to die. You are almost good at your job, just a tiny bit more effort, and this entire process of getting takeoff clearance wouldn't be a frustrating exercise in demolition via cranial percussion. I don't care that we've been sailing for 3 days, it's still bothering me. Even the officers from the landers can barely speak from how fatigued from absolute wall speaking from the absolute wall speaking with people who are barely smart enough or barely too dumb to do their jobs properly. but are yet safe from firing because they know someone with enough power to shield them. Gregory has been absorbed with his duties, so we haven't even gotten to do maintenance rounds together, which I regret because it would be pleasant to work on another hobby robot with him. 12 days. Hopefully the wee thing is faster if we can catch him on the station. Ooh. The caffeine freery. Just flit it in with some caffeine. And, what's this? A sneaky chocolate. A Twix. Haven't had one of those in a long time. The caffeine free. Ooh. We can catch him. Hopefully the wee singer's faster. If we can catch him on the station.
Dear Gregory, I like boring days. On boring days, nothing bad happens. We still get to have lots of fun in the gym with Sneaky on boring days. There are no bad guys on boring days. We have a new friend on the ship. He is called Sour Sage.
End of chapter. Indeed, indeed. And you never know what words Sneaky might accidentally teach people. Mom might go on a rampage then. Yugi doogie. Next chapter. AC 5-15. Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series Accidentally Adopted. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 15, Day by Day. Part 5, Chapter 15, Day by Day. Dear Diary, Greg, Daddy, and the Lander sat around a table in the cantina and talked for a couple of hours today. I thought about trying to eavesdrop, but decided to focus on opening a line of communication for a dart war and setting sneakies. Journal entry 67, date 1/11/7, name Greg George. Well, apart from our destination, there wasn't very much useful information. I mean, sure, the SWAT dudes gathered a crap ton of evidence, but that's not actually... But that's not exactly tactical data. So far as I'm concerned, a conviction is a foregone conclusion. But their job is to make sure that doesn't get fecked up, so I'm not complaining. An interesting tidbit is that the local scum were buzzing about a general escalation of hostilities against the Believer Seas to bring back something like an age of piracy or some stupid crap like that. I've decided to increase the difficulty of the combat readiness drills. Log 6,001.2.10. Personal, Captain Yormdrill. Listening to the reports that I can do literally nothing with is soul-crushing. It does make me wish that the Weesing had her own shuttle, preferably of the assault variety. I floated the possibility that alive, if possible, doesn't necessitate. I floated the possibility that alive, if possible, doesn't necessitate that we ensure that all of his limbs remain intact. Journal entry 71, date 1/12/5. Name, Great George. Sometimes the rules I set for my own sanity journal are really fecking annoying. Who would know if I broke them? Nobody. Nobody but me. Because I never even fecking wrote them down, so I could just leave this as sort of a musing on the nature of self-imposed rules and crap. But I won't, because I'm just that fecking autistic, I guess, feck's sake. So, crap was fecked. I dreamed that the grub got me, and I rampaged through the ship, murdering all of my family and friends. Feck you, subconscious. That's never going to happen on account of the poison appendix. So I really didn't need to wake up silently, screaming with gross fecking tears running down my face. Feck you. This wee thing is home. Everything is fine. I'll make it fine. Lucy's getting goddamn clever and crap. We had us another chit-chat, except chat-chit. We had us another chat-chit, except this time she opened up. She had to fight against feelings like she was useless while I was planetside getting Linus back. That she knows in her head that she had an important job to do, that I and everyone else was depending on. But it didn't stop her from feeling like she should be able to do more. The fact up thing is, I don't really have good advice to give, since I'm the same fecking right. Since I'm in the same fecking fight. I never liked people brushing me off with platitudes and the like, so I flat out told her that almost every day I have intrusive thoughts that I'm not fighting something, I'm not helping the ship. I have intrusive thoughts that if I'm not fighting something, I'm not helping the ship. Since I don't know how to stop my own intrusive thoughts, I'm not much help with hers. I apologized and she thanked me. Christ knows for what. Other way round, kid. Other way round. I really hope this doesn't turn into a flood of fecking feelings. I'm crap at that kind of thing. In other news, Pops got pranked by Uncle. He got a bit of floor tiling to stick to one of his shoes somehow, and it played squeaky noises with every step thereafter. I've been on the lookout for similar traps. Log 6,001.2.15. Personal, Captain Yormdrill. It is interesting to have a crew so focused. We're not just plying the hyperspace sea to make our living. We have a mission. It's the small things. It's in the small things, such as the decrease of speaking in terms of maybe or perhaps, but rather when. It seems that amongst the crew it is a foregone conclusion that the Weesing will catch her quarry. The doubt seems to lie in whether Gregory will be well once we have. For my own mind, I have grown confident that he will be well, whatever the outcome. It is clear to me that he is a resilient man, and whatever setbacks were incurred in his healing, they are well on their way to being passed by. What I do not know is whether the Weesing can be content with the safest routes after accomplishing something so weighty as the protection of an entire extended family. Dear Diary, I finally got Greg to talk about his experiences. Kind of. What I read about said that talking about where someone feels weak or not good enough can help someone like Greg. Maybe he was a little underhanded, but I decided to start off by telling Greg how it felt to be behind on the ship and helping by making sure that the grown-ups could work without worrying. Really. It was hard. It was hard. Really. It was harder to talk about that than I thought it would be. Really. It was harder to talk about that than I thought it would be. I thought I had already sorted through how I felt about that stuff. Except Greg tried to give me advice. Well, it was more like he said he was sorry that he didn't know any good advice for intrusive thoughts. He told me about his intrusive thoughts, about feeling like he needs to be fighting to be useful. But he knows that isn't true. I told him that I'm glad that he's fighting against thoughts like that it makes me feel like I'm not fighting alone. I think it helped. From the memoir of Beastmaster Salvace. Why is the ship so egg-breaking slow? Log 6,001.2.16. Personal, Captain Yormdrall. Engineering tells me that we're operating at peak efficiency, and the extra set of hands and eyes is really making the difference. Vic isn't anywhere near close. Vic isn't anywhere close to being a certified engineer, but he reportedly takes direction well and has a decent understanding of the underlying principles behind most of the ship's systems. It's a shame that we have very little in terms of seafood aboard, or at least in comparison to what he is used to. I've become more than simply competent with both the magnetic accelerator and the plasma caster, and my slowness to draw my shock crystal when we were last in danger is being remedied. It would be unfair to simply expect Gregory to shoulder the burden of self-defense for whoever he happens to be with. We defend each other. Dear Diary, Farside Station can't put together a team to do a dart war. Lame. I told 975 sneakies. I sold 975 sneakies, though. About a third of what was there. I shouldn't have eaten that chocolate. It's giving me clicky mouth, which is an actual term used in narrating, and voice acting. You want proper hydration in the vocal cords, but too much hydration in the mouth causes clicky. About a third. I agree, puppy. Definitely a phrase for the ages. I sold 975 sneakies, though, about a third of which are the dress blues ones. Greg says he'll get me a book of military uniforms of his people going back 1,000 years once he can talk to them, and that sounds cool, but I want to know what fashion is like for his people. He said uniforms are always good enough for him. Oh, stars. My brother has no taste. Journal entry 72, date 1/12/6. Name Greg George. So, sausage is an odd one. I asked him what his deal was with the googly-eyed feck, and he kind of tried to power play it like we're a bunch of mistress. And he kind of tried to power play it like we're. And he kind of tried to power play it like we're a bunch of mistrustful misfits in a fecking movie. Dude is so far out of his depth, it isn't kind of. Dude is so far out of his depth, it's kind of hilarious. Anyway, I just answered his questions about why I'm after him and reminded him that he's a guest in my home and he doesn't have to act all mysterious if he doesn't want to talk about shit. Anyways, he got all embarrassed and admitted that it wasn't as dramatic as my reason. I don't think I'd call it dramatic, but I guess to a guy who experiences other planets through movies, it must seem that way. Anyway, apparently the faggot has been getting away with poaching some endangered wildlife on Sausage's planet for years now, and he said, I know I can't stop him myself, but if I can help, then maybe it'll be one less animal poached. Not much, I know, but it's better than just letting him do it over and over and over again. Especially if I was close enough to do something once with Especially if I was close enough to do something once was too much of a coward to try. I told him that I know he's not the fighter type, and I'm glad that he didn't get himself killed on account of how he's a cool dude and a good workout partner.
Dear Loggery, The landers are making friends now. I think that we will have to say goodbye to them soon. I do not know if I want to...
Why is that highlighted?
I do not know if I want the wee thing... I do not know if I want the wee thing to keep being a hero ship after we get the bad guy. I know that we will win because we are the good guys.
End of chapter. I'm guessing you're talking about adverts, not me? Lord Volpex? The age-old problem of adverts shouting at you. Never a fun experience. Boomer Juice. The Lewis Hamilton blue can. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Super caffeine. Puppy, your ears are all squiff. Need to smooth them out. There you go. He's actually a very good boy. He doesn't kick and moan and make enough noise to disrupt the recording. Well, I mean, you can build it into the TV, the hardware. It's easy. The same way I don't scream by running real-time compression. You can do that on a TV. You can do it on anything. But they don't do it because it doesn't help them in any way. Mm-hmm. Doggy, did you have a hard night of sleeping? You need to do some sleeping to catch up. It's taken a while. The cats were okay. The one cat was oblivious. It's like 15 years old, deaf, and mostly in its own planet, so it didn't really care one way or the other. The other cat was very skittish for about a week or two, but settled down soon after. The dog, however, he's still recovering. There was no physical injuries or anything, but before loud noises didn't do anything to him. Now, sneezing or clapping your hands frightens him. So, I think it's been getting better a little bit, but not much. From all we can see, that there's nothing we can do. Really, it's either going to sort itself out or not. But hopefully it does. And then the other thing is, before he would just, wander around and do whatever he wants. But now he either has to be with me or my wife. Almost all the time. So. Not happy. I mean, the sleeping on my lap thing is recent. Like, used to do it in South Africa, but for 2 months, 2.5 months. Didn't want to come anywhere near my recording room. Now he seems to have settled with that. Yeah. Okay. On to the next one. Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to the latest narration of the web series Accidentally Adopted. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Here. Are we comfy? Front. Why are you doing me like that? You good? But too hot. Okay. Here we go. All right. Dog's just getting comfortable. I hope that you enjoy. Part 5, Chapter 16, Casting. Dear Diary, the good news is that I sold every last available, Sneaky. The bad news is that we ended up not having a match for dart walls after all. All in all, not a terrible day. But we didn't leave the embarkation level. Well, I say that we didn't leave. But really, I mean that none of the kids left the embarkation level. Well, us and some of the moms, most of the moms, actually, come to think of it, anyone else who isn't Greg's defense team. Well, us and some of the moms, most of the moms, actually, come to think of it, anyone who isn't on Greg's defense team stuck to the embarkation level. Except Sausage, for some reason. Well, I guess that makes sense. Farsight Station has a kind of rough feeling to it. The bad news is that nobody could get more materials of any kind or price. The bad news is nobody could get more materials at any kind of price that makes any sense. More of that rough feeling to this place. I think if I had the right contacts, I could get a fairer price. But as it is, they see an unfamiliar face and lash on a stranger upcharge. Greg said that that's a feature of places like this. That's the higher prices for strangers helps protect the locals from the fraudsters sailing in and passing off fake chits on them. Since, if they do get tricked, they at least still have some stock to try and recoup with. I think it's depressing. We're not allowed out of the ship tomorrow. Yam and I are getting the vac suits and baby pods ready, just in case. Log 6,001.2.20. Personal, Captain Yomdril. 2 days early. 2 days early, and from a gentle probing of the landers, it seems that we've managed to arrive ahead of our quarry. I had to pick some full chits, and contract was work for passage. But I feel that the effort he put forth was worth more than passage. I also had the pleasure of informing him that if he wishes to continue pursuing an education as a ship's engineer, Wexlin is more than happy to take him on as a second apprentice. Of course, the lad has more than plenty of time to chart his course before we cast off. But I could see it was ahead of But I could see there was a heady offer. Though perhaps I should have waited. The recognition of his potential seems to have emboldened the poor boy beyond his capacity, as he confronted Gregory in the gymnasium while we were doing morning exercises. I don't see why I have to be left behind, he said gruffly, or rather squeaked as gruffly as he could manage. Because the station is a hotbed of criminal activity, and the embarkation deck is literally the only place that pretends to have law and order that isn't you obey the laws and orders of whoever has the biggest gun. It's not like I can't handle myself. I can bench nearly as much as you do. Have you ever killed? Yes. A person, not a local prey animal or a predator after your livestock? In a place like this, when things go sideways, they get scorched. You follow? They get profaned? Incorrect spelling. Jesus. Commanding. commanding an artillery battery, commanding it to hit whichever twice voided son of the hull breach program their translation software. Gregory burst out with a sudden venom, and I suppose that I can see his point with finding analogous point with finding an and I suppose I can see his point at finding analogies. Analogies. And I suppose that I can see his point with finding analogies, rather than just translating something as a word profanity, especially with how fluently he swears. He took a calming breath and continued, "Okay, so what I mean is when things go bad in a place like this, they go very, very bad, deadly bad. And I'd rather not risk you on account of you being the only one who can spot me without extending a grav belt."
I understand that is a risk, Sneaky. I just think I could help.
Gregory lifted his weights in silence for a few seconds, and I could see his tack changing before. And I could see his tack changing before he asked, "You don't mind the risk?"
I didn't say that. I said I'm willing to take it anyway.
Witnessed. I will not deny your courage, but the best way I can think of for you to help is as bait. First, we know what the googly eye pirate is coming here. First, we know why. First, we know that the googly eye pirate is coming here, and is due to arrive tomorrow from a conveniently bribable hypercom technician. Second, we know that he has a very high opinion of himself from the cultist ship. Don't ask. Third, we know he wants me, or at least another specimen of my people for his pit fights. What you'll do is to go to the CD bars and start to claim that you have information on where Sneaky is going to be very soon. But you're not willing to sell the information to anyone who doesn't have experience with dangerous creatures. You will appear to be alone. You will not be alone. Does that courage hold? Vic gulped and nodded, unable to say anything aloud. Witnessed, Gregory said again, and finished his set before laying the weights to the side and saying, finished the set before laying the weights aside and saying, "I'll go put together an away team. Pops, you're not on the... You're not on it this time." I laughed at that and said, "We're much better prepared now, thanks to you. The Wee Sing needn't send her captain and first officer away again." "I wouldn't say that, sir. You and Uncle are still the best shots. So, if combat is a sure thing, then having your accuracy might be worth the risk." I nodded, and he left the gymnasium. I do not like being on the away team. It feels wrong to command from a place of safety, while my crew takes on a very real risk. We shall see tomorrow if the nets haul anything up. Journal entry 76, date 1/13/2, name Greg George. Well, Sausage's feelings on conversation are a pretty strong motivator. Well, risk. Sausage's feelings on conservation are a pretty strong motivator. He screwed himself up to insist on joining the away team, and since I don't really have a protocol reason to refuse, I had to witness. Now, Sausage isn't a very superstitious kind of guy. Oh, he's furtive and hesitant, and has his head on a swivel, but none of that is particularly great for moving through a crowd without drawing attention. He looked like exactly what he was, a civvy who's far, far out of his depth, which was perfect. I flagged no less than a dozen would-be muggers for SWAT dudes to nab before they got a chance to shake down my little buddy. One of the squiddies had an unfortunate and sudden neurological failure on account of he drew on Sausage from behind and was just going to murk his ass when a blade somehow went through his head. Funny thing that. It fit exactly into my mysteriously empty sheath, and the assaulted scum started studiously avoiding making anything that might be construed as a threatening move towards Sausage. By the third bar, he was nervously broaching this possibility of selling some information on the internet sensation Sneaky and his future whereabouts. They stopped just blowing him off and started offering to get him in touch with Beastmaster Salvace for free. Now, Sausage thinks it was down to his macho aura that folks started taking him seriously. I don't have the heart to tell him that it was the repeated and sometimes fatal interventions between him and the local scum that more to convince them than he was a big deal. I don't have the heart to tell him that the repeated and sometimes fatal interventions between him and the local scum did more to convince them he was a big deal. The weird faking thing is I feel on mission, but also kind of not. What the hell? Anyway, we got him home in one piece, and the SWAT dudes had a crap pile of independently. We got him home in one piece, and the SWAT dudes had a crap pile. We got him home, and the SWAT dudes had a crap ton of independently confirmed intel that not only the googly-eyed feck docking tomorrow, but the word about Sausage has gotten around amongst the local shady dudes and the scum. Everyone's pretty sure that someone has sent the fecker some hints. From the memoir, Beastmaster Salvace. Despite the bosun flagging the worthless engineers, we made rotten bad time for Farsight. Such terrible time that Such terrible time that a waterworm made it there ahead of us, and is apparently looking for me. For who else could have the expertise? For who else might have the expertise to capture and care for savage beasts than myself? The fool took official passage and is staying at the above-board dock. Well, that's one way for a new player to keep knives out of his back. If he is a fool, I think I'll invite him down to the real docks. End of chapter. Boop-a-doop. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to refresh the page. Oh, bit of a stretch. Stretch out those muscles. Eat my chocolate. The dog was very interested when I started eating. It stopped snoring, in fact. I will be right back in 2 minutes. Alrighty, back. The dog has wandered off. We still have a cat hiding behind the computer, but that should be fine. Now we have a bit of a challenge. Because my OBS breaks the moment I move it to another screen. All right. See, there's a bunch of new people. Welcome. Hello. Just waiting for my stream to catch up so that I can see whether OBS is doing the right thing. I'm sitting at a weird angle because my okay. Not. Okay. Try that again. Because the format between Reddit and Royal Road are slightly different, I need to have two different scenes for it. Ah, there we go. Perfecto. Wow, as good as it's going to get. All right. Probably just going to do the 2 chapters. Or the human from a dungeon today, and then we'll do the other 3 tomorrow, probably. Maybe 3. We'll see how the voice is feeding. Alrighty. Save that. So there's a character name coming up that'll get me probably demonetized. So we'll have to come up with a new character name, which I know is not appropriate normally, but in this case I think everybody will be able to understand. I think I've come up with a suitable replacement name that both encompasses the old and what it meant, and then also is vague enough to not get me in trouble. I hate YouTube censorship. Well, I hate all of that, but well, 3 chapters will get us to 14,005, close to 15,000 words. 14,000, which is close to 15. We'll do that. 1, 2, 3. I mean, it also depends on what voices I do. Oh, no, color. That's color. Blue, whatever. But yeah, it should be fine. Go 4 chapters till she shows up. Fair enough. I've put too much thought into what I'm going to call her. But I think it'll be worth it. Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Human from a Dungeon. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 31. Nick Smith, Adventurer Level 7, Human American. Darkness. True darkness. I am surrounded by total and complete darkness. Not the kind that you see when you're in the dark room or when you close your eyes. No. This is like someone painted my eyes with the blackest of paints and buried me deep underground. It's stifling, pressing in around me. It's unnerving, but there's something even worse. The darkness is matched by silence. I never heard nothingness before. I can't even hear my heartbeat. I can't feel my heartbeat. What is this? What's happening? Silly boy, you used up all your magic. Whatever are we going to do with you? 10? No. No. I know that voice, and that isn't this voice. 10? 10? No. No. I don't know that voice. That isn't a voice. Toying at the back of my mind, begging me to remember. It's feminine. A woman. Mom? No. Younger. Much younger. Where am I? The darkness suddenly fled, and I found myself standing within a void of white. The silence remained. I checked to make sure that I'm intact by patting my body as I glance around for whoever is with me here. Yeah. I checked to make sure that I'm intact by patting my body as I glance around for whoever was here with me. I've got all my parts, but they're not covered by anything. I looked down and confirmed my nudity. Something's off. I should have wounds, but I'm not hurt anymore. I was bleeding, but I was bleeding. What happened? The hole in my hand is healed and didn't even leave a scar. Wait. All of my scars are gone. What the hell? Did I die? Of course not. You don't die from using up all your magic, you silly little mudman. Cass laughed. You're also not healed. You look at how you should look, without a random graffiti that life tends to add. I quickly spun around. Standing in glorious nudity before me was Cassandra, the love of my life. Except, it isn't. It's something else entirely. I knew this instinctively, but it took my brain a moment to catch up. Cass wouldn't know about magic, and I don't recall her ever using silly little mudman as a term of endearment. The closer I looked, the more obvious it was that the thing standing in front of me wasn't Cass. Her hair's the wrong shade of blonde, her eyes are the wrong shade of blue, and she's shorter than she should be. You're not Cass, I managed to say, my breath fighting to stay in my lungs as if it didn't want to leave me. You see me as your girlfriend? What do? I ran out of breath. I panicked for a moment, but then realized I was fine. I couldn't breathe, but I also couldn't suffocate. Maybe I can just think. What do you mean? I mentally asked. Well, I'm not exactly appearing to you in a physical form. You're not exactly in physical form either, for that matter. Your mind is struggling to interpret these things with visual, it smiled with Cass's mouth, and audio stimuli. Are we in my mind? No. But your mind and soul are intrinsically linked. One cannot maintain its form without the other. Then where are we? That, the thing moved closer and fluttered Cass's eyelashes at me, isn't relevant. I don't understand. It took a step. I took a step back. That's obvious, and I'm afraid that your comprehension of our location isn't at all important. I was going to approach you as you slept tonight, but since the opportunity presented itself sooner— Approach me, I interrupted. Why? Because you're amusing, not just to me, but to many others as well. Unfortunately for said amusement, you're unlikely to know what to do when you get to your next destination. You'll get there, seek out a scholar, get your little words translated, and end up right back to square one.
It rolled her eyes at me. It would take you years to figure out the next step. Then you don't have that long. Why not? Because some very stupid mer are getting ready to do some very stupid things. And that will result in your leads drying up. I stare at the thing in front of me, trying to work out what it's talking about. It's starting to look less and less like Cass. Her eyes are now purple, and her hair was now grey, nearly white, but everything else remained the same. Greetings, Tabby Cat 39. I hope you're having a great day, or as well as can be. How do you know all of this? I know almost everything that happens in the mortal realm, sweetie, it said with a smile. I know that you're a human. I know that Nash pulled you out of a dungeon. I know that you felt. I know how you felt when you woke up. And above all, I know what you hope to accomplish. I will be an absolute delight. It'll be an absolute delight to see if you can do it or not. What are you, some sort of god? Well, Bit sighed, almost comically. I suppose I'll have to be called that. But unlike the gods you're familiar with, I have absolutely nothing to do with creating anything. Neither did any of the other beings known as gods, for that matter. Then why are you known as gods? Mortals love to name and classify things. They don't do. I'm doing as well as can be, Tabby. Thank you for asking. They do their best to make everything fit into tiny little boxes, especially when they don't know enough about something to even begin to hope to properly classify it. Those with immense power that exists beyond their reckoning are stuffed neatly into the box labeled God. So this thing isn't a god, but it's close enough to be called one. It's wearing Cassandra's face, but it claims it's not doing so intentionally. It can read my thoughts, too, even when I'm not trying to verbalize them, but when not in my mind. Doesn't really make much sense, does it? It laughed. If it helps you get over it, you can call this place limbo or purgatory. You're more familiar with such concepts, and the only real difference is that this isn't waiting area for the dead. I see. Well, what do you call this place? I don't. Things like me don't have any reason to name things. Amongst ourselves, we're simply able to broadcast a thought with complete context. If I wasn't a specific person to meet me... If I want a specific person to meet me in a specific place, all I have to do is think about the details. However, none of this is relevant, Nick. Okay. So we're in limbo, but not really. And you're a god, but not really. So what do you want with me? There we go. It raised an index finger and tapped its nose. There we go. There you go. There we go. It raised an index finger and tapped my nose. Finally, we can get on to business. You're getting to Bolasar. When you get there, you'll want to visit some scholars to get the text you found in the dungeon translated. His childish thirst for knowledge will cause him to decline an invitation to see the dragon. Do not let him decline that invitation. It's hard to imagine Yok turning down the chance to see a dragon. To him, it's just a sleeping dragon. It'll be there once your task is complete. Whether he sees it now or 5 years from now doesn't really matter to him. The puzzle of what you are and where you're from. The puzzle of where you are and where you came from is much more pressing matter to the cutest little orc scholar. I found myself taken aback by that description of York, but managed to press on. What do we do after seeing the dragon? The choices afterwards will be clear, and you'll know which one to take. The choices afterwards will be clear, and you'll know which one to make to continue to track back to Cass. If you need another nudge at some point, I'll pop by. Why are you helping me? Just because I'm amusing? Don't underestimate the value of amusing to a being like me. But the actual reason is that I'm rooting for you. It smiled, but its mouth had changed. It wasn't Cassandra anymore. The lips were fuller, and the teeth were far more pointed. It would break my heart, metaphorically speaking, to see you fail your greatest quest. If it weren't for my pact, I'd tell you exactly how to get where you need to get to. It gestured with one of its arms, and the sound of chains clinked from somewhere. I blinked in surprise and suddenly saw the source of the noise. She was covered in chains, and the links were made of solid crimson light. They sent sparks flying at even the slightest movement. I looked for what they were attached to, but the chains began and ended inside the being before me.
I could only imagine that they were attached directly to its bones. How didn't I see this before?
Your perception is limited, Nick. There's a lot that you can't see, hear, smell, or feel. Perception is a funny thing, though. Perception is a funny thing, though. Perception is a funny thing, though. Once someone points something out to you, suddenly you see it all over the place. They grinned. It appears... Its appearance had changed. It no longer looked like Cass at all. Its hair was radiant blue, its eyes were deep purple, and its skin had a mirror-like quality to it. It was still nude, but its proportions had changed. It was now taller than me, and was shaped more like Nima and Cass, including the odd alligator teeth that were... It was now taller than me, and was shaped more like Nima than Cass, including the odd alligator teeth that all orcs have. Somehow, this set me at ease a bit. Should I tell the others about you? Your Clanash will believe you, so you can tell them if you think it'll make things easier. If you tell others, they'll If you tell others, they will understandably believe that you're not well in the head. This will add obstacles to your path that will require bloodshed to clear, it shrugged. Up to you, though. Bloodshed? Oh, yes, it grinned again. Instead of gently pushing past the obstacles standing in your way, they'll force you to gut them and unleash rivers of blood that'll flow along your path. Since violence begets more violence, more blood will inevitably flow. On the bright side, letting the violence guide you will get you to your goals much faster. The thing's smile erased any sort of ease I had up to this point. Yeah, it does. The thing's smile erased any sort of ease I had felt up to that point. The smile spoke volumes, hinting at a macabre enjoyment of all things hateful and violent. I involuntarily took a step back. I'd rather not, it interrupted with a sigh. I know, Nick, I know. And that's fine. It's only one way to get to where you're going. It's the most fun way, in my opinion. But I'm fully capable of understanding that you would find it a lot less fun than I would. It shrank a little, as if deflating, like someone had just told it that the next installment of its favorite slasher movie would be a PG-13. Then it laughed a bit and came back up to full size. You have many more questions, and we've got time. I'll answer what I can, though the answers will likely be disappointing, it said. What happened to me? How did I end up in this world? I don't actually know. You were outside of our perception until Nash lifted you from the altar. Is Cass okay? I don't know. She's outside of my perception. Damn. I crossed my arms to think for a moment. Why are you the one who is approaching me? I like to play with mortals, and so I am more far... I like to play with mortals, and so I am far more familiar with doing so than others of my kind. Plus, I really wanted to, it smiled. I threatened to throw a temper tantrum if I wasn't picked. This threw me off. A being that people called a god throwing a temper tantrum, like a toddler. Then I remembered some of the Greek gods and felt like kind of foolish. The thing smiled at me knowingly. I sighed and thought about what my next question should be. Will I make it back to Cass? I don't know. But we can't wait to find out. You don't know? Of course not. I have a general idea of how things might go if all the mortals involved make certain choices at certain times. But I don't actually know if the end result until it happens. But I don't actually know the end result until it happens. Well, all right then. Do I have a chance to make it back to Cass? The thing laughed and held up its chains, indicating that it couldn't answer. I felt a surge of anger rush through me, but quickly quelled it. The anger isn't exactly justified. The fact that we're even having this conversation means that it's at least somewhat willing to help. If anything, I should be graceful. Not graceful, grateful. I should be grateful. What can I do to increase my chances of seeing Cass again? Train every chance you get, learn new spells, put your body through hell. The stronger you get, the better the odds are. The stronger you get, the better your odds are. It smiled again. You have a lot of potential. If you start focusing on your endurance, you'll find that you can increase your strength faster than most can. Even if you fail to get back home, you'll be able to live comfortably amongst the mortals of this world. I was about to express my distaste at this possibility, but the thing held up a hand. It is time for you to wake up. Go see the dragon. Everything went dark again. End of chapter. A bunch of people just rushed in. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Hope you're all doing well. Got any questions? Feel free to ask. I will answer if appropriate, if I feel it's appropriate. But more than anything, I hope you have a good time. Good day, Dave W. Hope you're doing well. Oop, I did that again. Pew. Nope. Pew. I said pew, damn it. There you go. Good morning, James. Hope you're doing well. Fair enough, James. Fair enough. Gotta have a couple jokes stashed away for times like these. Not a problem, Dave. I'd much appreciate it if you pop past. Every little bit helps. The human from a dungeon. 32. Okay, gonna head into the next chapter. After some booba juice. The subtle art of sitting still. That was a difficult lesson to learn for narrating. No fidgeting. Sitting in a position that is both comfortable and opens up the diaphragm. Hold on. Anyways, on to the next. On to the next, and the next, and the next. Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Human from a Dungeon. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 32. Nash Alter, Adventurer Level 9, Orc Nulivan. The exploding cart caught me by surprise. Thankfully, I had a quick recovery active because of the bandits. A new skill I picked up while trading with Nick, and it does exactly as advertised. I was first... I was the first one up, my ears ringing and head swimming. I shook the cobwebs out of my skull and checked myself over to make sure that I was in one piece. Lucky, no shrapnel wounds. Lucky, no shrapnel wounds.
As I grabbed my sword up off the ground and sheathed them, I looked around. Everyone else was on the ground. Yoke was just behind. Yoke was just behind where I'd landed, and I ran over to him first. "Yoke!" I shouted as I shook him. "Wake up, brother! Tell me you're okay!" He didn't stir. Crap. I tried to get his robe off, but I tried to get his robe off so I could check him for injuries. I wasn't able to get it off, but I was able to get it open. He was wearing a tunic with shorts underneath, blood on his legs. I ripped his tunic apart to see if his chest was fine. No blood, and it was rising and falling to indicate that he was breathing. I tore a strip of his tunic and bandaged the small wound on his leg. Nick got 7. Nash got 9. Leg. I glanced up and saw Imlaw trying and failing to help Nick stand. As I straightened up to go check on him, I heard someone behind me groaning. Instinctively, I drew my swords. My axe, being as cumbersome as it is, had been left in the cart. I spun and barely managed to block the first bandit strike, and the second bandit was standing up. I heard the second bandit, which had ruined the first. I'd heard the second bandit, which had ruined the first bandit's sneak attack. I'd heard the second bandit, which had ruined the first sneak attack. The other 5 were in no condition to fight. The second bandit took a moment to get his bearings as I took a slash to the first one, which he dodged. He wasn't able to dodge the follow-up kick, though. He hit the ground and rolled backwards, and I followed and slashed with both swords. The bandit dodged backwards again, which is fine by me. I wanted to distance him from Yoke. The other bandit saw our conflict and lunged at me with his spear. I parried it and blocked another strike from the first bandit. "Yoke!" Nick shouted from behind me. "Yoke's out cold," I replied, swinging at the first orc again. I hope he's just out cold. A coma would be a terrible... A coma would be terrible this far from town. I parried the spear again and rushed the bandit with the sword. He managed to block the strike to his throat, but wasn't able to avoid the slash across his gut. It went deep, and he fell to the ground holding his injury. I shut out his cries of pain as I turned my attention to one with the spear. I shut out his cries of pain as I turned my attention to one... I shut out his cries of pain as I turned my attention to the one with the spear. There's no need to worry about him getting back up. I know a fatal blow when I see it. The bandit with the spear also knew a fatal blow by sight, and became more cautious. I darted forward, and he leapt back while jabbing at me with the spear. If he were any more skilled with his spear, I'd be in trouble. However, after the 4th time he jumped back and trying to poke me, I was starting to get annoyed. "Go to Owls, you bastard!" I shouted. Go to hells, you bastard, Go to hells, you bastard, the bandit growled at me. "Lead the way," I replied, slashing to the tip of the spear. The bandit looked at his spear dumbfounded, and I took advantage of this to use another skill I had unlocked. I activated thrusting throw, and my sword leapt from my hand and plunged itself into the bandit's chest. His gaze moved from his spear to the hilt that was now attached to his chest, and then to me as he crumpled under the weight of death. This particular skill had come to me after continuously throwing Nick's training weapon back to him. I don't think he even realized that I activated the skill. He probably believes I'm just good at throwing training swords directly at his heart. I walked over to the bandit and pulled my sword from the fleshy sheath. I took this opportunity to examine the remains of the explosion and the other 5 bandits, which was a mistake. Even with all the death and destruction I'd seen before, The way their bodies were torn apart and contorted beyond recognition made my stomach turn. I turned away and closed my eyes, trying to think of anything else that wouldn't stick me. Trying to think of anything else that wouldn't stick me with. Trying to think of anything else so that it wouldn't stick with me. Food's a bad thought. No, let's Food's a bad thought. No, let's think about relaxing at the training field, staring up at the sky, watching the clouds go by. Nima by my side, giggling at something I said. Not even a joke, but she found it funny regardless. A good memory to blot out the bad. "Help!" an unfamiliar voice called out from behind me. I turned to look and saw the dwarf when ran. I turned to look at the dwarf we'd run past earlier, now kneeling over Nick. Imla was also on the ground. I wiped my swords and the spear bandit's pants and kicked the orc's shoe as I passed, but he didn't even stir. Gods, he was out for the count. I hope he's okay. Out for the count. I hope he's all right. "What's going on?" I asked the dwarf as I approached. "The gnome was hit and bleeding out, and the human. Human? What? He's a human. That doesn't matter, though. Focus up. What happened? Yeah, I guess. I guess. I guess you figured out." No, that's the wrong accent. I guess he figured out how to use healing magic. No, still wrong voice. I guess he figured out how to use healing magic. He used it on the gnome and then passed out. He's wounded pretty bad. Looks like he wasn't hit by Looks like he was hit by a bunch of shrapnel, the dwarf explained. I knelt and checked the boy's wounds, and the dwarf was right. He had a hole clean through his right hand, another hole in his shoulder, two in his left leg and one in his right leg. I couldn't find any holes in his cuirass, though. I breathed a sigh of relief. "He'll be fine," I said. "How can you say that?" "If he's lost enough blood to pass out, then he definitely won't be fine. We gotta do something. Look at the ground." Look at the ground. There isn't enough blood there to cause someone his size to pass out, he explained. Plus our healer is down for the count. Ain't a damn thing that we could do even if we wanted to. "We could bandage his wounds at least," the dwarf muttered. Nope. Nope. No. Well, that's a bad idea. I'll show you why, I grinned. "Hey, Ten, you there?" "Yes," Ten said with Nick's voice. The dwarf leapt back from the boy with startling speed. He didn't get far before he stumbled and landed on his ass, staring at Nick with an open-mouthed frown. Nick, however, didn't move at all. After a moment, the dwarf turned to look at me again. "Ten is a robot that lives in Nick's head and helps him heal." "Ten is a robot that lives in Nick's head and helps him... Ten is a robot that lives in Nick's head and helps heal him," I explained. "I'm not a robot," Ten said. "Close enough. Anyway, he's got foreign objects of some kind in his wounds, doesn't he?" I asked. "Yes." "And it would be a bad idea to bandage those wounds while you try to heal them, right?" "Correct. If you bandage the wounds, it would prevent me from removing the shrapnel. I would have to heal around it, and I would then have to force the shrapnel out of the body through the skin, which would take an unknowingly long time without surgical assistance." "There you have it," I said to the dwarf. "All we can do is wait for our injured to wake up. Nick healed Imra, Ten's healing Nick, and York doesn't have any visible injuries. He's probably just one out of a concussion, though." I see," the dwarf said, staring, starting to shake off the shock. "Anyways, I'm Nash. What's your name?" I'm Rev. Renz Marfix. Pleasure to meet you. though I wish you were under better circumstances.
Yeah, me too, I chuckled darkly.
So what were you doing out here, Renv?
My uncle owns one of the largest suppliers in Bolsa. My uncle owns one of the largest suppliers in Bolsa, and I was transporting mining equipment to Kakena for him. Shovels, picks, buckets, and some bank clay. Recipe C, he explained. The bandits weren't interested in the gear, but were convinced they could get a good ransom for me. But were convinced they could get a good ransom out of me. Well, that explains the explosion. Well, that sounds like a pretty valuable cargo. Why didn't you have guards? I asked. Guards. I did, 3 of them. The bandits killed. Well, right. I did. 3 of them. The bandits. I did. 3 of them. The bandits killed them and tossed their bodies in the cart. His expression went dark. They were friends of mine. We grew up together, but they became adventurers, and I became a businessman. Now they're dead. I'm sorry for your loss, I said gently. I know how odd that is. I've lost some friends recently. Nick suddenly sat up as if he were in the middle of a fight, and then winced at the pain his various injuries caused. He looked around in an odd way, as if glad his eyes were working. He looked at Renv, then at me, and then closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Are you all right? I asked. Yeah, I'll be okay. He looked at Renv again. Never mind, I'm fine. Just used all my magic. How's Imla? He's out, but it looks all right. Yolk's out too. He's not up yet. Wait, how long was I out? Just a few minutes, Renv said. I'm Renv, by the way. Didn't get a chance to make introductions with all the excitement. I'm Nick, the boy replied. Nice to meet you. They discussed how we had to go before we were... They discussed how we had to go... They discussed how we got to be where we are. But I was distracted by Yolk. He'd been out for a while. He'd probably taken a knock to the head. But I hadn't seen any blood. I wondered about trying to load Yolk and Imla into the cart. But the Hanasses looked angsty. But the Hanasses looked angsty. The explosion had probably put them on edge, and a kick from one of them could have been bad. And a kick from one of them would be bad no matter who it connected with. Nick, has your magic recharged at all? I asked. Let me check. He closed his eyes and concentrated for a moment. Yes, I've got about a quarter of it back. I want you to heal Yolk. Can you move? Not on my own. Ten says my legs are fractured. All right. Nick looked up at me questioningly as I stood and brushed the dirt off my knee. I grinned as I leaned down, placed my arms beneath his armpits, and lifted him up from the ground. He protested a bit as I carried him over to Yolk's still unconscious form, and winced as I set him down. Heal him, I said. What's wrong with him? Nick asked. I don't know. Probably took a knock to head. Just cast the spell and let you figure it out. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. I'm pretty sure that it is. You think healers have time to figure out what's wrong with a person before I heal them? I asked angrily. But fine, he relented. Run them to sack. A faint light glow around Nick's hands as the spell went. A faint light glowed around Nick's hands as the spell went to work on Yolk. I crossed my arms in satisfaction, but raised an eyebrow as I noticed the light didn't fade like it normally would. The spell was still going. Whenever Yolk or other healers cast a healing spell, the light would only last for about a second. Before I could say anything, Yolk's eyes shot open and he sat up. Nick let his arms drop to his sides and Yolk looked around, trying to figure out what was going on. Finally, my brother looked at us and tilted his head questioningly. You got knocked out by an explosion from the flaming cart, I explained. Then I healed you, Nick added with a grin. You healed me? York asked with a shocked expression. Well, congratulations on unlocking your first healing spell. Which was it?
Minor heal, Nick said.
Good, good. That's the first level of healing, York nodded, rubbing the back of his head as it was sore. Rubbing the back of his head as if it was sore. Nick placed... Nice place to start from. Is everyone okay?
I'm fine. Nick's got some new holes and Imlar's unconscious, I explained. That dwarf that we rescued, Renv, is also in a... That dwarf we rescued, Renv, is also injured.
I see. Where'd the flaming cart go?
Already told you. That's what blew up. It had a band clay in it.
Right, that makes sense, York said as he carefully stood up. Shall we go check on Imlar then?
I can't walk. I've got fractures in my legs. I can't walk. I've got a fracture in my leg, Nick explained.
Not a problem.
Not a problem, I said with a grin as I picked him up again. York and I walked over to Imlar as my new baggage protested again. The protest got a little more colourful this time, so I was less gentle when I set him down. Nick glared at me angrily as York knelt to check on the gnome.
Will he be okay?
Rev asked.
York expressed as rubbed his chin.
York expressed as he rubbed his chin thoughtfully.
What happened to him?
A piece of shrapnel went through his gut, but he didn't notice it at first. He passed out as we checked on me. He passed out as he checked on me, Nick explained. Thankfully, it went clean through, so I cast minor heal on him. But he didn't wake up. Then I ended up passing out from using all my mana.
York looked confused at Nick with...
York looked at Nick with a confused expression.
What else did you use magic on? He asked.
Nothing,
Nick answered. But you have a ton of magic. Minor heal wouldn't even come close to using all of it, York said.
I used the spell until I ran out of magic, Nick explained.
How many times did you cast it? As York asked that, I made a connection between what Nick was saying and what York was asking, and the strange length of time I'd seen from Nick's healing spell. I couldn't help but laugh, which made everyone look at me.
When he cast minor healing, it seemed to last longer than when you cast it, I explained. I think he's able to continue the spell with just one cast.
Is that so? York turned back to Nick. I wonder what sort of effects that has on healing. I wonder what sort of effect that has on healing.
I don't know much about magic.
I don't know much about magic, Ren interrupted, but it is gnome going to be okay. He's been out for a while. Right, he must have lost a bit of blood, but I can wake him up, York nodded.
York then slapped Imlar across the face, the sound of which stunned the rest of us into silence. It seemed to echo around us. Nick opened his mouth, but Imlar mumbled something, and his eyes fluttered open. He looked at each of us and sat up, holding the side of his face.
What happened? He asked.
Come on, get up, York smiled down at the gnome. It's time to get back on the road. End of chapter. Only 2 more chapters until the fated meeting that'll cause the YouTube censors to have an aneurysm. Oh, stretch. Yawn. More stretch. But I do think that is going to be me for the day. We'll continue this tomorrow and then do some one-shots as well. Well, that's all for tomorrow. Thank you all for popping past, spending your time with me and having a chit-chat. It's very much appreciated. I will see you all tomorrow. Hopefully, everybody has a great time until then. Anyways, goodbye.